Percival Leslie Fairfoot.
Percival, what?
He's head man Tri-Western Life Insurance Company in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, brother, with a name like that. What's bothering the dear boy, Pat?
Exactly $50,000.
Yeah, how'd he lose it?
He didn't. He wants to give it to the beneficiary of a life insurance policy.
What's